Okay, so we're reacting to, I think, some botched blackout that transitioned into color on black or something. I think that's the idea here today.
Yeah, it seems like fun.
Cover up of a cover up of a cover up.
Cover of a cover of a cover.
Yeah, this is the story of my life. It's just never-ending reworks and cover-ups.
Basically.
Fortunately, there is no real end. So.
All right.
I don't think there's anything here.
No
I think
waffles
it's just
for me.
This looks like it had some infection in it.
Yeah, they lost a lot.
Yeah, those patterns look like a pretty bad infection to me.
Yep, me too.
I have some of that on my foot, my left foot, from when I had a pretty bad infection.
Yeah.
You don't want a bad infection in your foot, by the way, because you can't walk. So.
I think it's really, 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 really common in foot tattoos. Most of the time when people tell me
they've... hands.
Yep. Most of the time when people have told me they've had tattoo infections, it's been a very highly saturated something on the top of their foot.
By the way, both of my infections were blackout, too.
Yeah.
So, as I often will say things like blackout is a bigger deal when it comes to healing, and I'll have some people question me, and I think it's like, I think people get their pride hurt or something because a lot of people don't have blackout, and they think that it means that I'm looking down on them, and it's like, yes, in this regard, yes, absolutely.
Right.
Like if you haven't healed a blackout, like a lot of blackout, then yeah, you haven't had the worst of it.
Well, and you heal a lot of tattoos. Like you heal a lot of tattoos. And like the one, like the foot, it kind of made sense because you were on it, and like work shoes.
I mean, here's what happened with that, to tell the whole story, is I had like 5 days off and it was healing up and it looked fine. And then I went to work and it blew up. And within 3 hours, I had swelling from my foot all the way up to my inner left thigh.
And your job at the time is you were a line cook.
Oh, yeah.
And so you're on your feet for, at that time, you were probably on your feet for 12 hours.
I worked a fast pace, too.
And you were boogieing, and then you were wearing your work shoes.
Yeah.
And then you have to wear your socks. You're not sitting down. You're not elevating it. You're not resting it.
Well, the only reason why I didn't make it through the shift that day.
Yep.
I got sent home because my coworker could see that my pant leg had no give, and my whole leg was like bursting out my pant leg, and I was still moving, like, but I was like nursing my leg.
Right.
And it was like, holy shit. You got to go to the hospital.
And we did. We went to, not the hospital, we went to your doctor for that one. And it wasn't your doctor. We got this like young girl doctor, and she just poked the bottom of your foot like 2 or 3 times and was like, do you think it's infected?
Yeah, so, by the way, I worked through 2 regular full color tattoos. I want to mention, I had 2 full color tattoos on my feet before.
Yep.
And it was fine.
Yep.
Not that blackout. So.
Nope.
For anyone out there that's going to say something like that, you're wrong. And it is a lot more trauma to do this.
It's a ton more trauma.
It's very common to see botched blackouts. It's very common to see overworked and chewed up blackouts. And bad healing goes with the territory. So, yeah, just a side note on that. And so, yeah, these do look like infection scars. I'd be very surprised if there was a better story. So it looks like he got it re-blacked out here. And
you can still kind of see where they were, but it'll meld in eventually.
Well, the thing is like some scarring, like the formation, like you will still see that, even if you made it like a solid black everywhere.
Yeah, if it's textured.
Yeah, so like I have a spot on my knuckle here that I got, I like cut with a knife or something back in the kitchen like 22 years ago. Like it was my first year cooking, or 23 years ago. And I still have that scar, and you can see it through the black. You can see it through my old tattoo too. That will always be present in whatever I do.
Yeah.
And so if you have a design on there, it masks that scar, and you don't see it so much, right? But like whenever you cover a scar with one color, well, it's just that scar in a different color, right?
And that's why you can kind of sometimes see old tattoos through blackout. It's not necessarily that they're poking out. ink wise, but as like scarring and texture wise, that's kind of what's happening.
So
usually.
then we see he started black on black. So he lined this thing with black and black shading.
Yeah,
looks like they've got a little
really
bit of white
nice.
in there too. The white looks like it was like an experimental thing. They did most of it with black, which is, by the way, correct. Like if you're gonna do one, do black, not white. I will say it a million times and people will still not listen to me, but the white without the black doesn't work very well and you'll have a very faint result. The best white on black on its own I've ever seen was Alex Rose, who guest spotted here. He had scarification with white ink poured into it.
Crazy.
And his is actually pretty striking, like white line work. But typically just white line work on its own without really bolstering it, it's not going to be very striking. Like that rose sleeve we've seen recently that I kind of poo-pooed on, right? That one could be so much more dynamic with black shading inside the white lines.
I completely agree with that.
So
100%.
yeah, and you see it already looks cool. Like
Yeah,
this
I
on
love
its
these
own.
like black floral. I was showing you something very similar, if not the same one, on TikTok the other day.
They don't stay very striking. But if you now go and you put
the color
color
in,
in there,
yes,
right?
This is the same one. This is gorgeous. I really like their choice
Well,
of
this
blue.
was sent to me quite a while ago.
Yeah, I showed you this one just the other day because this and it was just this. It was this blue because it's a really striking blue and it's showing up really well with the black.
The difference is like there are colors that they go in really, and I know because we've used over 100 colors on my blackout. There are some colors that go in really well.
Yeah, your blue that you have went in really well too. The one that Terry used.
There are some that go in really well and heal really well.
Yeah.
Right. So some of them will muddy up quite a bit.
Right.
There's a lot of blues that don't work very well over black.
I'm wondering how this one healed. It's really gorgeous, fresh.
Well, so we see it healing here, but we don't see the full heal. And then, like, the thing is, you can kind of see that the tonality of it is, it's going to change. They used more than one blue, or they mixed the blue with some
like a whiter based blue.
In my back piece, you could see where the really faint pigment blue, that really light blue, it just kind of comes in like, in even a negative space, it has this look of like kind of cloudy, subtle white. It doesn't really go very blue. The really like light blues aren't great for anything. They're good in highlights. Like that's why I was saying, or I've said quite often that in trad tattoos they would use like light blue as a white highlight.
Yeah.
But they don't have like the appearance of blue, and so this one, when it heals, a lot of this this really light white that they have here is going to be cloudy. It's going to be like a duller white. But where they have the denser, darker blues, even the mid-tone blue, because they did kind of a whip shade out with it. You can see how it's getting lighter as they come out. The densest points and even the medium points will be pretty blue, but that light blue is going to just be kind of a cloudy white. And I've seen it enough times that I can say that with zero debate. And even if you do multiple passes over the blue, it's going to be pretty faint because that light blue doesn't have a lot of pigment.
Yeah.
That ice white that's sitting over there, I wouldn't say it's worthless, but I'm done with it. Like I'm not doing any more with it because it would be nice if it would work, but it's just too faint, right?
Okay.
So
you
just got to mix it better, like medium blue with a little bit of white, I think, to get that same effect. And I think that's probably the better route there. The turquoise on my rose here, the leaves, that's actually it's turquoise fusion mixed with white. It went in a bit too green, and we wanted it to have more of a teal kind of look to it, so we mixed it with white, and it kind of added like a bluer tone to it. But yeah, you got to be willing to experiment with these things, right? So yeah, and then I get this little email here.
It says, a lot of work left. These are all first passes. A lot of ink didn't stay. Of course, I'll send the second pass when it happens. Any recommendations to make it better in the future? Thanks.
Well, so I've already given some recommendations on the blue. This this flower here will have a better shot. The tones, the warmer tones do better over blackout, just because blackout is cool toned. Like all black has a lot of like cool, like greeny blue hues to it. Even like Panthera will have more of a bluer base than a red base, right? So it stands to reason that your yellows and reds are going to be the highest contrast from those. And the way you could get that blue to work and stand out better would be to surround it with some other colors that make it look less similar.
Yeah, like complementary colors or whatever.
And not just to make the blue stand out, but to make the blue stand separate from that black line and the black around your sleeve.
Yeah, too samey, right?
Well, it's just your eye doesn't detect it if there's too much similar, right? So it's not even going to really do anything to that blue other than it kind of offers something else, right?
Yeah.
So like a lot of the blue over in my sleeve over here, it's the whole thing is taken on a very blue look, but like there are tones in there that make it look that way, right? Like the yellow and green and stuff.
Yeah.
It just gives separation.
They kind of push each other forward.
And then black gets to be black when there's no other black, right? Like the black parts in this sleeve
are very black.
Well, and they're not much blacker. It's just that there's nothing else black, right? Like there's no other, and same over here at these spider webs, if that was these black lines on black, like some people wish this sleeve was, like some people like to think like all of this would look better if I didn't do the red background, but they're wrong, like objectively, because it doesn't work that way. Like these webs and the lines of these flowers would not stand apart on a black background the same way as they do on the red.
Yeah,
like,
no, I agree with that.
In a perfect world, we could do whatever the fuck we want.
Maybe
right?
one day they'll make inks that we can. I'm a little skeptical if that'll ever happen.
I think when you get into this kind of stuff, it becomes less about what you would like in an ideal situation and more like, hey, what will actually work, right? That's like I was saying on that episode where we featured that Devlin, and she's doing the black on black. And I was like, I wanted to do just black on black.
Yep.
Right? And like the thing is I got to a place with it where it's like, yes, it will always be there, but it'll always be faint. And so I started, my mind starts opening to different options, right? It's like, how can I make these things clearer and more readable? And you kind of have to be open to doing things that you may not have considered in a typical tattoo, right? And yeah, I think that this rose here has a better shot than the blue one, just out of the fact that it's warm. But what I would recommend is to get some cool and warm tones working together in here. Maybe put some yellow in places. You could have maybe some roses with multiple different colors, right? Like we did with mine.
Yep.
Where there's enough going on that brings your eye into it.
I think that you could also go in to the darkest points, so where the shadows are the deepest. You could go in with a cool tone purple and blend it out, and I think that would be really beautiful and really helpful.
Well, I mean, like if you're open to layering, like nothing is off the table. So like just because this is fully pink right now, or like pinky red, like when you get enough passes in here, like say 3 passes of color on black is pretty much as good as you need. You can come back in with black over top of the color you did. And same as we did with these spider webs, you can do black details in these flowers that will show up better than they would straight over black. Right? So you can build in darker tones into this red without using more different reds.
Yeah.
Just by shading over top. Like we also did that with the shadowing around the roses, right? There's black shading whipped off of the roses to give them, and it's almost not detectable, that you wouldn't necessarily even be able to pick it up, but it frames them more.
Yeah, and before you did it, it was the sleeve was definitely flatter, if that could even be possible for what was going on. But I remember seeing it and being like, you guys need to do something, and you're like, yeah, we're gonna shade off the roses with black.
I might make that even darker yet.
Yeah, well, I don't blame you. I could see it making it even more dynamic.
In my future, I'm planning on eventually here, making the red background brighter and the shadow around the roses darker.
Yeah. Yeah, that red velvet is just dark on its own.
Yeah.
And it's a beautiful red, but I think you could even go in with a brighter red.
Well, we'll probably use some of that nebula red like Rick and I did. Mix it in with the red velvet, and then you get a brighter tone.